Hey guys, welcome to the RAMZPAUL show. Hey, hang on here. X seems to have issues here. All right. There's a problem with the X stuff. An error occurred on X. Okay, we'll try again here. But welcome to the stream. Let's see, go live. All right. So I might not be on X. There's some issue there. Let me see. So greetings from Tehran. All right, it looks like X is down today, so it'll be just let me see if Rumble's working. All right, yeah, Rumble's working. X it looks to be down. This isn't on my end. It's a problem I think with X they're having today. An error occurred on X, Twitter. This is usually temporary. Wait a moment and try again. And so let's see here. Okay. All right. I guess X is having problems. Yeah, Rumble's working, and I hope YouTube is working. Let me check if YouTube's working. I think it should be. Let me take a look here. Working. I'm not sure why it's not working on X, but this is where we are. Sorry for the delay, guys. A lot of people like to watch on X, and it looks like X is having technical difficulties tonight. Yeah. All right. Well, YouTube and Rumble tonight. And if X ever gets working, it just says an error occurred. Wait a moment, then try again. Okay, I'll try again after a bit. Well, guys, welcome to the Ramsey Paul Show. I usually do this live stream on Wednesday night, but I've been live streaming every night because of the Iranian war, which I think is a major uh, event in American history. I really do. For a lot of reasons. It could determine our position in the world and the Trump's presidency, the whole movement, the MAGA movement, everything is up in the air because of this war. It's a really, it's like in world wrestling, WWE or WWF. They had a concept called a heel turn. A heel turn. That's where like a good guy wrestler, in order to make things interesting, on a dime, he would just become the bad guy, and they would call that a heel turn. And Trump has done a heel turn. Everything he used to support, he's changed. He no longer supports mass deportations. He gave that up. He no longer has this idea of America first and let's keep out of foreign wars. In fact, it's the opposite. He loves war now. There's Venezuela. He attacked Iran last year. He's attacked it now. We're in the middle of a war now, or whatever he calls it. And then he's talking about attacking in Cuba. So it's a quite different than what he previously was saying. So yeah, X is just down today. So I guess just the way it is. We'll just have to deal with it. Anyway, guys, thank you for being here. And if you want to write me, let me just show you some of that too. Hang on. You can write me at Paul Ramsey, P.O. Box 8093, Fayetteville, Arkansas 72703. I get a lot of good letters in the mail, and I do appreciate them all. I really do. So thank you for that. And I already got a power chat before the show, and you can send power chats. This show works better. I think when we get together and we just talk, you can if you can send a power chat. On YouTube, you can send super chats, and on Rumble, they have something called Rants. And hey, everyone in Rumble, it's good to see you. And I already got a power chat from Kim. Kim is a friend of mine in Finland, and he said, sad to see the rapid decline of sticks. I think it's quite evident. Not throwing any stones. I had my own struggles with alcohol. I can relate. Hope he gets his life in order. You should never relax with the demons you have. Yeah, I think I didn't know all the lore about him. but I guess he worships a demon called Stolos. It's like an owl. I don't know. Sticks at one point was my co-host. All my co-hosts end up in bad situations. Tina V, God rest her soul, she died really young, and then Z-Man died, and now Sticks, my co-host, he's having legal problems and allegedly alcohol problems. And I do hope everything works out with Sticks. I think Sticks is very talented. And drinking it can be a lot of problem. And obviously, I do drink sometimes myself occasionally. In fact, right now I'm having a margarita in a can. I enjoy that in the evenings. But you got to moderate how much you drink. Otherwise, it can definitely destroy your life. So, yeah, I wish Sticks all the best, and that's the way it is. And on Rumble, we have something called Rants. Rowhouse, hey, Rowhouse. Rowhouse is a real life friend too. It's good to see you, Rowhouse. Rams, your foreign policy expertise here. Before I answer this, Rowhouse, I'm going to see if I can get X this going on X. No, X is down tonight, so I think it is. Yeah, for some reason it won't go tonight on X. Oh well. I can show you X. X isn't down, but the video feature's down. Okay, let's just take a look at this here. What the link Rowhouse said. Trump said the decision to bomb Iran came after advice from Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and Pete Hegseth.
Situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States.
And now I'm not getting sound. Hang on, guys, just a second.
Based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought that they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it. I think it was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And
all right. Sorry about this, guys. Can you hear me now? Sorry about that. No audio. Can you hear me now? Just let me know. Okay, maybe it's an art piece. Let me just. I'm going to come back in and out again. So hang on a minute. So just all right. Sorry about this. I'm having all sorts of issues. Can you hear me now? Yeah, it's a boomer thing, John, recently. Can you guys hear me now? If someone could let me know if you can hear me. Let me just see if I'm on X finally too. Am I live? Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, thank you. I sorry about that. What happened is one of my I've had a lot of issues tonight. The X is not connecting, and then it is first muted, and then now we're okay. So I think we should be okay. We can hear. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to start over with this question I got from Rowhouse, and Rowhouse is a real life friend. Thank you, Rowhouse. He says, Rams, here's your foreign policy expertise, and we'll take a look at this here at the thing. And let me bring this up. All right, here we go.
Situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And
all right. So Trump based supposedly his attack on what Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner told him, along with Rubio and Pete Hegseth, that Iran was going to attack us. And yeah, attack us how this is really crazy. Number one, Iran has not attacked us really since 1979. Now, you could say indirectly they have through their proxies, specifically in, I think it was 1983, Hezbollah attacked a Marine base we had in Lebanon because we were supporting our best little friend in their invasion of Lebanon. And Hezbollah, which is funded by Iran, but they're not Iranians. It'd be like, for example, the Russians saying that we've been killing Russians for years. Well, have we? Well, indirectly we are because we support and fund Ukraine. And so, a similar way, Iran supports and funds Hezbollah and the Houthis, the sand people, like a Star Wars. So we do fund Hezbollah, and then '83 they did an attack on our Marine barracks. So it's not really Iran, but okay, whatever. But Reagan chose not to attack Iran. He just pulled our troops out of Lebanon. He made the right decision. So really, since then, they have not attacked the United States or our troops. You could say, for example, Hezbollah has attacked dual citizens that are fighting in the Israeli army, but in general, they haven't. So the idea that Iran would want to provoke a war with the United States is just insane. Iran wanted to avoid a war with the United States. In fact, they were making concessions. They said, yes, you can have nuclear inspectors and we'll do what you want. And but we were in the negotiations. And then in the middle of the negotiations, we did a sneak attack. And this is what we got real mad about Japan in 1941. Was it December 6th? We were in negotiations and they attacked Pearl Harbor without declaring war. And everyone was like, oh, these damn Japanese, they're so evil, crafty, sneaky bastards. They have no honor. Because traditionally, before you attack an enemy, you're supposed to give them notice that you're declaring war. That's kind of the Western tradition. And the Japanese did not do that. Well, We didn't do that with the Iranians. What happened is we gave them a proposal. The Iranians said, hey, we'll look at the proposal and we'll get back to you next week in Vienna. And then while they were looking at the proposal with their supreme leader, Khamenei, the Israelis bombed them and murdered them based on that information. So we thought we were being clever. But it's very dishonorable. So we've done this twice now. Last year, we did a sneak attack during negotiations, and this year we did. And now the Iranians are saying, fuck you, we're not going to negotiate with you. You're not reliable. And I really don't blame them. Now, getting back to Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, I'm not sure why they are negotiators. They're technically not part of the government. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, they haven't gone through Congress to be confirmed. It's not like they're part of the State Department. Steve Witkoff is a real estate developer who's Trump's golfing buddy. By the way, he's Jewish. And Jared Kushner is the son-in-law that has no qualifications except he married his daughter. And again, he's Jewish. And it's relevant because at least Kushner is really good friends with Netanyahu. In fact, Netanyahu, when he visited them, he stayed at Kushner's house. So they're buddies. So it's a real problem here in having neutral negotiators. But anyway, what happened is even worse is afterwards, the mediator from Oman, that's where the negotiations were taking place, said that Kushner and Witkoff, they didn't really understand what was going on, some of the technical details. So there was no evidence that Iran was about to attack us. In fact, our own intelligence said that there was no evidence that was reported to Congress. It was nonsense. There's no way that they were going to attack us or anything like that. It was just ridiculous. But you're right, Rojas, Kushner and Witkoff have been very poor negotiators. And I don't think we were ever really negotiating in good faith or anything like that. I think the negotiations were all a ruse, which is very dishonorable. But that's the way we do that now. I got another power chat from RP fan. Thank you, $10. Should the U.S. cancel hosting the World Cup if it's still at war this summer? Well, we're claiming that we're not at war. Trump is saying it's an excursion. Some people, they're calling it an operation. And it's just a minor thing, Trump is saying. And it isn't, but they're trying to downplay this. Part of this is for legal reasons and constitutional reasons because only Congress can declare war. So they're coming up with a new euphemism for war. They just call it something different. If we're still at war this summer, we're going to have a lot of problems economically. And we'll get into that. So I think that will be the least of our worries about the World Cup if the war is still going on. Now I'm going to give some white pills. There is a possibility that the war could end fairly soon, and I'll discuss how that is. But there's also a possibility it could drag on. Jimmy, $5. Why does Trump have to be so orange? And what's up with Ben Shapiro's eyebrows? I know Ben Shapiro's going for the Stalin look. His eyebrows keep growing. And I think Trump, he does orange for makeup to try to make him, look healthier or whatever. I don't know. It's kind of strange how that is done. All right. I'm going to see if X is back up with my video. Oh, yay. X is finally up. Let me get this up. I've been having all these technical problems tonight. And yeah, here we are. Welcome to the X crowd. Sorry, X. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't Boomer Tech. X was having a streaming issue. At least that's what StreamYard says. So we're back up. Now, I had an audio issue earlier, and that was my Boomer fault. I actually knocked out my mic, and then it didn't plug back in well. So I think we're all going. I feel good now. Now we're on X, we're on Rumble, and we're on YouTube. So guys, welcome. I appreciate you guys being here. And we're just kind of going over. I already took a couple questions. And if you have questions, you can send them in super chats. Powerchats or Rumble. And your questions are great. It's good to have this conversation with you guys. I like being here every night just about this because Sasha can tell you I look at this all day long and follow people and just try to analyze this because I think this is a serious event. All right. Well, we'll get into now where we are today and some of my thoughts on this. Now, Trump is in Kentucky because he's trying to fight against Thomas Massey. And he hates Thomas Massey, who's a senator from Kentucky, because Thomas Massey, I like Thomas Massey, but Thomas Massey wanted to release the Epstein files, and that pissed off Trump. Trump, said that the Epstein files were a hoax. I don't know what that means, but for whatever reason, and I don't know the reason, but Trump is very sensitive about the Epstein files. And he's also, but primarily they're mad at Epstein because Epstein is not an Israel first guy. He doesn't take any AIPAC money, one of the few politicians who doesn't. And by the way, that's my new criteria, red line. If you're a politician and you're taking AIPAC money or any foreign money, whatever, and yeah, AIPAC is foreign, they get around it with dual citizens, but that's not fully me. It's Israel trying to buy our politicians. I'm not interested. I'm not going to vote for you because I believe that our representatives and our senators should represent the citizens of the state. Like Tom Cotton, I think Tom Cotton should represent the people of Arkansas, but Tom Cotton barely lives here. He does a trick. I read in a newspaper to claim that he's from here, but he's mostly in Washington. He never talks about Arkansas. He spends his day talking about Israel. And there's a lot of rumors, like he's been through a divorce, and supposedly in the documentation in the divorce, his wife accused him of having an affair, but not with a girl. Okay, there you go. And if you look at Tom Cotton in his face, that wouldn't surprise me. But Tom Cotton is like Ted Cruz or Lindsey Graham, just obsessed about Israel. Israel's first. Israel's before America. And they get a lot of AIPAC money. Now, I would like representatives, either Democrats or Republicans, that actually represent us. Now, I may disagree with their policies. Okay, I understand that. I may not vote for them because I don't agree with them, but at least they're one of us and they're trying to represent the people of Arkansas or whatever state you're in, right? They represent you. We don't have that. Most of our politicians, they represent Israel because they've been bought or blackmailed or whatever. And that's a problem because at that point, we don't have self-determination. It's not our country anymore. It's not our government. And this is a huge problem that people are waking up to. So the AIPAC lobby, they really hate Thomas Massey because he was independent, sort of like Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Trump has turned into a total neocon now, even though he used to be America first. And so he has a big hatred for Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene. So he went to Kentucky to campaign for his opponent, Massey's opponent, which is some neocon that used to hate Trump. And so they bust in a bunch of boomers that watch Fox News to try to support Trump. I don't think it's going to work. I think Thomas Massey is going to win in a landslide. I don't think Trump is very popular now. I could be wrong. I know there's a segment that still loves Trump. I would think most of the people that love him because even the neocon, the Jewish neocons, they don't love him, but they're just using him. And if he doesn't do what they want, they'll stab him in the back. But I think the people that really love him are kind of the boomers that don't quite understand the whole deal with Israel and the power and all that. And they watch Fox News, and whatever Trump says, they're going to support, even if he changes his position. I'm not that way. I've never been that way. I've never supported Trump because I loved the man. I loved his ideas and his positions. I thought, even though it wasn't 100%, I'm like, this is the guy that represents what I think. Let's put America first, not Israel first. Let's deport illegals. That should be obvious. Let's not get in foreign wars for other countries. And now we've abandoned that, or Trump has. Trump has given up on deporting illegals, unless they're murderers. And when it comes to foreign wars, he even admitted we went to war because of Israel. And Rubio did the same. Now they try to backtrack it and they say so many things, it doesn't make sense. They contradict themselves. Sometimes Trump contradicts himself in one sentence. He'll say, "This is a war that we won. It's over, but it's just getting started." It's like, what the fuck are you saying? And Trump will say that. And so it doesn't. So okay, this is a war that is over. We won, but it's just getting started, and it's not really a war. But we've been at war with Iran for 47 years. It's just crazy, but some people believe that. So anyway, Trump, he went to Kentucky, and they bust in an audience for him. And let's listen to a couple of things he has said here.
Paducah. And as we take decisive action to stop the threat posed by the terrorist regime in Iran with Operation Epic Fury.
Epstein Fury.
Is that a great name? Well, it's only good if you win. You can only do. And we've won. Let me tell you, we've won. You never like to say too early you won. We won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over.
Okay, so Trump is saying we won. But what does that exactly mean? The win means what are your objectives, right? You got to define your objectives. And it's pretty obvious that objectives, they didn't state it, but it was obvious. Well, they have stated it, but they backed off or whatever. But I think the real objective was regime change. We wanted a leader that he said this. Trump said, I want to choose a new leader, and the leader has to love Israel. That's really what it comes down to, because we're doing this for Israel. And the idea was, on the first day, he attacked on a Saturday, and he really thought it'd be like Venezuela. That's what some of his advisors told him. Now, the military, they had a different idea, but he didn't listen to them. He got mad when they told him that, it may not be that easy. But he thought this was going to be really easy. We're going to bomb them. And Netanyahu told him Iran's weak. The people want to overthrow the government. So if you bomb them and kill their leaders, the people will rise up. And then we'll get someone that's sympathetic towards the Zionist regime. That was the idea. So we bombed them and killed Khomeini and his family and a lot of leaders, but the people didn't rise up. Trump encouraged them to on True Social. He said, now's your chance. Go out there. We want to give the message that we're going to support you. But there was no uprising. In fact, it had an opposite effect. The people in Iran now, even the people that previously did not like the government and wanted to see some changes, now there's an effect. They're rallying around the flag in Iran because they say this evil power attacked them without declaring war. It's a sneak attack. It was a vicious attack. In fact, now it's been obvious we killed like 170 school kids, girls. It was an accident. I believe it was an accident, but it's now our government has admitted, even though Trump is still maybe in denial, that we are the one that dropped the tomahawk on it because of poor targeting information. And just think about that, guys. I mean, it's easy because we think of them as different, but a lot of people have a wrong idea of Iran. It's not like some Arab state or low IQ. They're kind of white. The Persians, they tend to be intelligent people. They don't have to wear the burqa. They haven't had that for years. They're a pretty modern society. They're fairly intelligent people. Now, I don't want to live in an Islamic state. That's not me. They need to stay the fuck over there. Believe me, I'm not sympathetic towards Muslims, but we should just let them do what they do in their countries. So the idea was that we drop bombs and then they would come in. But just imagine if all of a sudden we're negotiating, let's say, with China, and in the middle of the negotiations, without declaring war, China attacked and killed our president and all the key leaders of Congress, and they also attacked a school, let's say a Baptist school with little kids, and killed 170 kids. How would we feel? I mean, really, that'd be, so they're all rallying around the Iranian government. So this actually had a opposite effect. And so Trump is saying we won, but we didn't win because the goal was regime change, and that hasn't happened. And when it dragged on, because originally Trump thought it'd be just the weekend bomb on Saturday. By Monday, when the markets open, everything would be good. That didn't happen. Then he said it was going to be 4 days, maybe. Then it was going to be 2 weeks and 4 weeks, and then, well, maybe September. Now they're not putting a timeline on it. Now he's saying, well, we won the war within the first hour. I don't know if that's before or after we massacred those schoolgirls, but anyway, we won the war and we have this glorious victory. But the war is still going on. So I don't know what he means by that. The trouble with Trump is he has very little credibility at this point. He talks in slogans and he's trying to sell you something. He's trying to create a narrative. And sometimes it's disconnected to reality. And this is right now disconnected for reality. And the trouble is, if a government keeps lying and lying and lying, eventually there's a confidence crisis that people don't believe the administration anymore. And that could hurt the markets. And Trump has been lying about, for example, that Iran surrendered to the Gulf states. They did no such thing. He's lied that we're not going to allow them to close Hormuz straits, the Straits of Hormuz. They have for days. And just lies. And it was to try to calm the markets. But now the markets are like, wait, what the fuck are you doing? And the oil now is just, it initially climbed like 120 a barrel, which is crazy. But then he was saying, oh, no, the war's ending. So the markets got excited. Oh, okay, well, this is going to be behind us. But it turns out it isn't ending. At least Iran's not ending it. And I don't know why he said the war's over. We're still bombing them. They're still bombing every night. So I don't know what he means by that. It's deceptive. It's just not being honest. It's the way he treated the bombing of the school. He should have just been honest and said, yeah, we're investigating it. I hope we didn't do it, but there's a possibility we did it. If we did it, hey, I mean, we're really sorry. It's not something we intended to do. But instead, Trump just lied. He said, no, the Iranians did it. And then when it found out we had proof it was a Tomahawk missile, he said, well, some other countries have Tomahawks, but not Iran. I guess Japan and Australia. Is he saying the Australians did it or the Japanese? It doesn't make any sense. His first instinct is always to lie. And when you lie, eventually people don't believe anything you say. And I don't believe much anymore with Trump. So anyway, Trump declared victory here because I think he's trying to do that to calm the markets. But it doesn't make sense if you're declaring victory and you're still fighting the war. And it doesn't look like we have victory. We don't have regime change. And the government and intelligence agencies just came out and said, it doesn't look like the Iranian regime is going to fall. It looks very stable. There's no indications it's going to break apart. So initially, again, we thought we had bombed them, then the Iranian people would rise up and then we would support them. We get like some gay Jew to take over or something. That didn't work. Then we had the idea, well, maybe some leaders of the army will defect. Maybe we can bribe them and then we'll put in our puppet. But that didn't happen. Then Trump had the idea, well, maybe we'll ask the Kurds to attack Iran. And the Kurds are like, yeah, fuck you. We have like 1,500 men to fight. And they're an army of 1 million. And oh, by the way, you, America, have double crossed us before. We're not fighting your wars. And then Trump's like, well, I didn't want you anyway. And so it's just like, really, what is the goal here? Then it became, well, we're trying to stop their nuclear program. Well, but Trump said last year in June that we obliterated it. And if you doubted that, you were believing fake news. And he got all angry about that. And then where's the ballistic missiles? And we destroyed all their ballistic missiles. but then they're attacking Israel and the Gulf states every night with very sophisticated missiles. So it's just not adding up. So it's like, what is the goal of this war? And then Trump said, well, and Rubio, both Trump and Rubio have said, oh, well, we had to attack because Israel attacked. And then that would draw the Iranians in. I'm like, why are you allowing Israel to dictate our policy? So it's been a fucking mess, the messaging, the communication. But the real goal is regime change. And we're not going to get that. It looks like the longer it goes that there's not regime change, it's going to be a strategic victory for Iran. It just is. And this idea that you bomb and you're going to change the regime, I was listening to a historian that studied this, and never, there's not one example in history where just bombing a country changed the government. You always have to send ground forces in. So then they floated Trump, and I guess in Congress they're saying, my God, they're saying this is a possibility. Maybe we'll have to do a ground invasion. But that is just so insane because Iranians have like 1 million-man army. We need 1 million men at least. Usually you need more when you're attacking. How are you going to set up the logistics? We don't have that many men. We don't have the amphibian ships. Where we're going to stage them. When we attacked Iraq, which was a lot more primitive, we could stage them with Saudi Arabia. Iraq didn't have satellite information. The Iranians are getting satellite information either from the Chinese or the Russians, and they could attack our troops as we're trying to stage. How are we going to do this? So it's just not really feasible. So there's not a way to get victory in this. So I think what Trump is trying to do is to wrap this up, declare victory like he did tonight, and then quit the war. But the problem is it's easy to start a war. You don't need permission from the other guy to start a war. I mean, you can start it. We started this war. We didn't have to get Iran's permission. Hey, Iran, do you agree to start the war? No, we can do it without the permission, and we did. But to end the war, that's another thing. Unless you totally defeat the enemy, you need their permission to end the war because they got to vote. So we could say, all right, we're done. We're done. Let's just go back the way it was. Okay, Iran, we're going back the way it was. All good. Our bad. Let's go back. We got a glorious victory. We punched you in the nose. We taught you a lesson, and I'm glorious. I'll probably build a statue for myself. I'm a great, says like Alexander the Great, Donald Trump. But yeah, it's over. But see, Iran could say, well, no, fuck you. It's not over. It's not over, bitch. We're still going to attack. We got our demands. And our demands is you get the fuck out of the Middle East. In fact, that is one of their demands. They said, you got to leave your bases. The original demands, the Iranians said is, oh, you want us to have a ceasefire this time? Like we had a ceasefire last year with you, and then you fucked us. So fuck you. We're not doing a ceasefire. Here's our demands. If you're going to have a ceasefire, we want you to get the fuck out of the Middle East and tell your little, your owners, the Israel, to get the fuck out of Gaza. That's our demands. That's our demands. Otherwise, you can fuck off. We're going to continue to fight. And then what's Trump supposed to do? I mean, I guess we could say, well, we don't care what you do. We're going to stop. And the Iranians like, okay, well, try to stay in your bases. We're going to bomb your troops because we've had to evacuate our troops from these bases because they're destroying them in the Gulf states. And they'll continue to attack Israel. So Trump can't pull out of that in that case, because if we leave our bases in the Gulf states, then the petrodollar is fucked. That's the reason we're able to spend more money than we take in America, is because in exchange for OPEC that they have to just sell the oil in dollars, we would provide them protection. And if we can't provide them protection, why should they just sell oil in dollars? They'll go to China or Iran. So we got to be there for that. In Israel, do you really think people like Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham and Tom Cotton, who are horrors for Israel, are going to tolerate that? No. So we can't walk away. Those demands are not reasonable. We can't meet those demands. I mean, technically we could, but politically we can't. So Trump can't. So Trump's kind of stuck. So what did Trump do? Trump reached out yesterday to Putin because Russia is friends with Iran. And they had a conversation. I don't think it went that well. And Trump wanted Putin to talk to Iran to try to end this mess. And then, Putin's like, well, here's the thing. I mean, you have sanctions on us. Why don't you lift some of these sanctions? Maybe we can help you, but we want something. So we dropped the oil sanctions against Russia. So Russia's now selling oil to like Japan, because Japan depended on oil from the Gulf states. They can't get oil there anymore because the Straits of Hormuz are closed. So now they're buying from Russia. It's getting Russia rich. It's got to piss off Ukraine. So, and then we're bitching at Russia like, oh, we think you're giving them targeting information. How dare you do that? I mean, talk about chutzpah, as our Hebrew friends would say. We've been doing that. We've been targeting the Russians for 3 years or 4 years now in Ukraine. In fact, just after the call with Putin, Ukraine did an attack on Russia, one of the cities in Russia, and with shadow missiles. And Russia's really pissed because the only way they can do a strike like that with these shadow missiles is based on U.S. targeting information. Way to go, Trump, really pissing Russia off there. But the goal is maybe Putin could talk to Iran and say, hey, Iran, your demands are not reasonable. How about this? Just go back to the way it was. The United States is not going to attack you anymore. And they'd be right, because Trump does not have the political capital to attack Iran again. This war is so unpopular. And, this is damaging Iran too. And the Russians say, the Arab world will see you as the country that defeated the United States. You held up. You'll gain a lot of prestige and you could start to rebuild. So that's probably my most hopeful outcome, is the Russians will, because again, the Iranians won't talk to us because we've double crossed them twice now. So maybe the Russians can talk to Iran and the Iranians will agree that, okay, if you promise not to attack us again, we'll stop this. And you can have your bases in the Gulf, and Israel can do their little genocide in Gaza or whatever, and we won't interfere. So that's probably the best way, hopefully, that this will work out here. All right, let me just see here. I got another Nightmare Man, a power chat. Trump murdered my young son with Operation Warp Speed after he was forced to take it. He can burn in hell for all time and eternity. Nightmare Man, I'm so sorry that your son died from the COVID shot. It was horrible because COVID was not dangerous to kids at all, but the shot could cause heart problems. My co-host Tina Veek, she had previously heart issues, but after she took the COVID shot, she wrote about it. She regretted it, but she had bad symptoms and then she died. So horrible. Yeah, Trump, I no longer support him. He crossed this red line. Well, two things. He dropped deporting illegal immigrants, and now he's doing these foreign wars for Israel. So fuck him. I'm never going to be on his side again after this. It's just, I can't forgive this. And I'm sorry about your son. That's horrific. But yeah, Trump was all for the vax and Operation Warp Speed and all that. If people don't remember, he definitely started the whole COVID hysteria. Operation Boomer Fury was a failure. We need a regime change in the USA again. Yeah, ironically, the regime change may happen in the United States. I don't think Trump's going to last the full 3 years in his term, or 2 more years. I don't. KMAX, the history ramps as neocons merged in 1979 in reaction to Jimmy Carter. Liberal on all issues, but they were angered at Carter for his Iran dealings. Carter was not as gun-ho as for Israel. Well, I think it's the neocons predated 1979. The neocons really adopted that name and idea in the 1970s. And the man who coined that term was Bill Kristol. And he's still around, and he's still as evil as ever. And what they were is they were primarily Jews that were part of the Democrat Party but they were unhappy with the Democrats because the Democrats at that time were more accommodating towards the Soviet Union. And while the Jewish element used to be for the Soviet Union with like Trotsky and all that, but then Stalin purged a lot of the Jews, and then a lot of the Jews hated the Soviet Union, including people like Bill Kristol. So the neocons, because I remember this in the 1970s at National Review, they came over, they were ex-Democrats, and they basically had left-wing policies on everything, but on foreign policies, they were hawks. And that's how they ended up in the Republican Party. And it's funny how neocon is considered a slur now, but that's a term they named themselves, meaning new conservative. And they kind of wormed their way into National Review. That was William F. Buckley's magazine. I used to subscribe to it as a kid. I know. I've always liked politics. And anyway, they got into it, and then they started to take over, and they eventually took over National Review, and they purged the traditional conservatives like Pat Buchanan, Joe Sobran, Sam Francis. Those people had views like I have now. They purged those views, and it started to be all about, to be a good conservative, you have to be supportive of Israel. And it's just a crazy notion. It's like, why? But this is their thing. Get off my lawn. 10 said, Trump didn't force people to take the COVID shot. Liberal governors and mayors forced them. Yeah, Trump really was a big vaccine salesman, though. So he has some responsibility. But you're right. A lot of these, I remember during COVID, oh, we're not forcing you to take it, but you don't have to keep your job. So, yeah, it was a nightmare. And it was horrific on all the censorship because of that. I mean, YouTube had more censorship about COVID than anything else I've ever seen. Really, really dark time. I was kind of depressed with that. All right. So let's hear some more about Trump. Trump here said that while the war is over, he's also saying that the war will end soon. Anytime I want it to end, it will end. Well, again, he doesn't have final say. Israel has a lot of say in it. Well, Israel and Iran. I was going to say Iran, but Israel also has a say. If they want to still keep fighting, does Trump have the political capital not to keep supporting them? I don't think he does. So I don't think this is all up to Trump. And there's more signs that Trump definitely wants out of this. Let me just take to show you guys this. Trump says war with Iran will end soon. This is Axios. And I don't know what soon means. Trump keeps saying it's ahead of schedule, but he's never said what the schedule is. Initially, he said 4 days, and then a week, 2 weeks, and a month, and then maybe September. So what does soon mean? I don't know. And what does he mean the war is going to end soon when he claims the war's already over? So that doesn't make sense. And then he says this isn't a war. So what is it? And then Trump to Axios, practically nothing left to target in Iran. So there's nothing left to bomb in Iran. So the war needs to end here soon. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but that is what he is saying. And we got some more information about this from the New York Times. They have information. Trump administration officials are growing increasingly concerned and pessimistic about lack of clear strategy to end the Iran war, but are avoiding saying this directly to President Trump because President Trump likes to be surrounded by yes men that kisses ass. He's got this messiah complex, which is a bad thing, and he's not grounded anymore. And there is a problem. How do we get out of this mess? And because it's just not up to Trump to say we're done, because again, the Iranians have a vote in that. All right, some other developments that are happening. Let me close some of these tabs. Got too many tabs open here. Close that. There we go. Breaking. U.S. officials say Iran has laid mines in the Strait of Hormuz. This is huge. They've already closed this for a few days, and we don't know what to do about it. Trump said, threw out an idea that, oh, we'll provide you insurance, but that hasn't worked out to the oil tankers. And then Trump said, oh, we'll do some naval escorts for you. And the U.S. Navy said, fuck that. We're not doing that. So that's not happening at this time. So Trump basically said, well, don't be a pussy, just go through. A couple of them have tried that and they've been blown up. So now Iran is laying mines in the strait, and it doesn't look good, that situation at all. So this could further increase the oil prices, and that would be a bad thing. So, guys, I'll be right back. I just have to go a second. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I had to take a quick break. I've been drinking this margarita, and I had to use the restroom. So mining the Straits of Hormuz will create a big problem, and this has caused the price of oil to start to rise back up. And let me just take a look at what the price of oil is right now. Price of oil today, I'm going to take a look at it. It's WTI crude is at $95 a barrel. Brent crude's at 100. So that's the problem. That's too high. It did initially go up to 120, and then Trump lied to the markets and said that Iran had surrendered to the Gulf Coast states and that the Strait of Hormuz will still soon be open. That was a lie. They believed him, though. But now they're starting to doubt that. And this could cause a lot of problems. All right, Samson, I got a super chat. Not super chat, power chat. I'm so happy to see the sharp, funny, and critical Rams back. I was disappointed in how much you supported Trump in 2024, but lately you are on fire. You are finally seeing things for what they are. But, I supported Trump because of what he said and what he claimed he was going to do. He hasn't done that. And I don't support the man necessarily. I'm not a cult-like follower. I support people that say things I agree with for the most part. I mean, it doesn't have to be everything. And I know no one's perfect and all that. But these are fundamental issues Trump has cucked on. I mean, immigration and foreign wars, those were core. They weren't like on the edges. I mean, I could overlook some silliness about, oh, we should try to get Greenland or, stuff like that. I can kind of let go. But this is just fundamental, and I can't excuse that. So, but thank you for that. And let me just see if I have another power chat or super chat. All right, let me see here. Oh, I do. Hey, thank you. $20. If America is unsuccessful in toppling Iran, what happens to Israel? Would its livelihood be at stake? And what happens to the American empire? Would we pull back and focus on domestic issues? Great question. Thank you, Nick. Nick 10, 1984. Great question. I think we will be successful in toppling Iran. Our own intelligence report came out today they don't see any evidence that the Iranian government's going to fall. In fact, it's getting stronger because, the people are rallying around the government because we did the sneak attack and then we killed their school children. So there's no uprising in Iran. So I don't think Iran will fall. Maybe it will, but I doubt it. We've never seen a government fall because of bombing, so I don't think this will be the first. If Iran keeps in power, the government stays in power, which I think it will. What happens to Israel? Would its livelihood be at stake? No. Israel, if they just learn to get along with their neighbors and not try to expand into other territories like Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, I think they could live peacefully with their neighbors. But Netanyahu, he has this greater Israel idea, and other people in Israel do too. They think because of the Bible, they need to expand Israel from the river to the river, the Nile River to the Euphrates River, which is like part of Egypt and a lot of Iraq and Lebanon. So they have an idea they want to create a regional power where they're the leader. So that creates a lot of problems. So, but if Iran doesn't fall, this is going to, well, this is another problem, is people like Mark Levin. In fact, he's already starting to spurg out. Ben Shapiro and all the neocons, even the Christian Zionists, they are going to be angry at Trump if he just walks away. And, Trump will say, we had a glorious victory. We punched Iran in the nose. They're no longer going to be a threat. But Netanyahu, the Zionist lobby, is going to be enraged because the goal was to topple Iran, not just to bomb them. And if we don't change the regime in Iran, Israel's plans of domination in the Middle East are fucked, because Iran, they're going to build back up. And this time, the new leader is not opposed to getting the bomb. So the supreme leader, the Ayatollah that was opposed to Iran to have nuclear weapons, he issued a fatwa. That's like their edict, like a pope. The supreme leader said, no, this is not the Muslim ideal to have a nuclear weapon. We cannot build one. The new supreme leader, which is his son, is like, yeah, we need a nuclear weapon. So at this point, if Iran stands, they will develop a nuclear weapon. And even if they're doing that, we will not attack them because of the disaster of this war, which we basically lost. It's like after Vietnam, Americans didn't want to get involved with another war. It'd be the same thing. And Israel knows that. So do the neocons. So they're going to stab Trump in the back. And a lot of the Christian Zionists are going to be real upset because they thought this was going to bring about the end times. And then Jesus delayed again. So they'll be mad too. So Trump is going to face a lot of political pressure. But now, what it means for Israel is the greater Israel project is going to be checked by Iran. They won't be able to do what they wanted. And it doesn't mean Israel's going to disappear. Israel has nuclear weapons that they stole from us. And so they're not at threat of being conquered. And Iran doesn't want to conquer Israel or anything like that. I mean, they will say that, but they can live with Israel if Israel just keeps to themselves. So I don't see Israel disappearing. Plus, Israel gets so much support from the United States. And why the base of the Republicans and the Democrats are really pissed off and tired of why are we supporting Israel and everything, the politicians are still controlled by Israel, including the Democrats. And so that's not going to change. They're still going to get the most foreign aid. So, no, I don't see Israel collapsing or anything like that. And what happens to the American empire? Would we pull back and focus on domestic issues? We can't pull back because of the oil agreement we have with the Gulf states. So we're in the Middle East for two reasons. Israel's one, and the petrodollar is the other. So we got to be in there to protect Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, all those, right? And so we're not going to pull out. And that's why I said at the beginning of the show, Iran's demands right now are that we got to leave all the bases in the Persian Gulf, and Israel's got to get out of Gaza. Neither of those two things are going to happen. Trump doesn't, I mean, it's just not politically viable for that to happen. So hopefully, if Trump goes through Putin, Putin will be able to talk to the Iranians, say, this won't happen, and this will just prolong the war forever, and this won't be good for you. Just end it now. You can rebuild. And the Americans, because they got Americans had such a bad taste in their mouth from this war, they're not going to do it again anytime soon. Make your peace. So I'm hoping that's the most likely outcome. So no, I don't think we're going to pull back from the Middle East. I would like to, America first and all that, but I don't think that's realistic. K-Max, do the neocons control the Democratic Party much less? No, AIPAC controls, and they brag about it. They control Republicans and Democrats. What do those type thinks they can do when Democrats win all the elections as a backlash to Trump? Trump is removed once the Republicans take Congress. It depends. Yeah, you're right. You've noticed one thing that's interesting. Have you guys seen a lot on the left, big anti-war protests? I haven't. Are people taking the streets? No. I mean, they took to the streets to ICE, but not for this war. Why is that? Because with ICE, they were being paid by George Soros and all these big institutions to protest. But Soros and all these institutions are not paying these people to protest this war, because the Democrats are in an odd situation here, the leadership, because their leadership is also bought by Israel. But they have to kind of pretend to be against Trump, and they are against Trump. But so their view of the war, and the neocons we're going to see, their official position is, well, maybe attacking Iran wasn't a bad thing to do, but Trump and Pete Hegseth, they were just so incompetent. They didn't have a plan. They didn't know what to do. They just fucked it up. They fucked up and killed the schoolgirls, and that just shows how incompetent they are. And so they'll probably more have that angle versus actually being against the war. Because Nancy Pelosi said that, she would defend Israel before America, and just like Lindsey Graham. So there's not much difference. Now, the base of the Democratic Party, they're not interested in Israel. And the base of the Republican Party, for the most part, at least the younger people, are opposed to funding Israel. The only support that is any group, really, is the older Republicans, what I call the Fox News boomers, that are told by their church that, Israel, Jews are God's chosen people. We have to bless Israel. If we bless Israel, God will bless us, all that bullshit. It's a heresy, but they're about the only ones now that are supporting it in the Republican Party. And then the next one is, who's this? This is, I just was talking about this. Little Uzi Jacuzzi. Rams, it looks like the only people who are really supporting Israel are boomers. That's true. Gen X doesn't care. Zoomers hate them. What do you think comes next after the boomers are no longer in power? This is a big issue that Israel is facing now, is they understand they don't have the support of the younger people. And I showed you that poll they did, and it's freaking them out, of young white men in the Republican Party. It's like 54% think Jews are a problem. So this isn't some extremist, storm front group. This is the majority of white men that are younger in the Republican Party, and really see them as a problem. So they got an issue there. They haven't been handling this well. Traditionally, they've been behind the scenes in controlling things. Now they're up front, and it's been a disaster. So I don't know. It's going to be difficult. But at the same time, money talks, right? If you're paid off, people will change their position. So I'm not writing Israel off yet, the lobby, because I think they could pay off some of the younger people too. because all they need really is the politicians. They don't really give a fuck that much if the majority of people don't support them, as long as they control the politicians like Tom Cotton, Lindsey Graham. What do they care what the people are going to say? And they can vet who goes through the primary. So that's why they're going after Thomas Massey so hard, by the way, too, because he got off the reservation. He wouldn't take AIPAC money. In fact, Thomas Massey said everyone that's in Congress, they have an AIPAC handler. They have someone that handles you. It's just crazy. But he said that's the way it is. He refused to take their money, so they hate him. They call him anti-Semite, the whole thing. And so they're going after him. CCU. Syria was slowly being chipped away with insurgents and bombings. What's the likelihood Iran will suffer the same fate as the grand strategy? Not as likely at all, because again, Iran is not an Arab state. It's a Persian state. They're more unified. Syria, they had a lot of divisions within the country, as well as Iraq did, various ethnic groups and various other types of religions, Sunni Shiites and ISIS and all that type of stuff. Iran is a little bit more stable. I mean, they do have ethnic groups besides Persians, but they're pretty well assimilated and they're more advanced. And we haven't really seen like uprising from the ethnic groups. We try to get the Kurds to fight, but the Kurds that are in Iran, they tend to have assimilated towards the Iranians. So I think Syria is very different and Iraq is very different than Iran for a lot of reasons. So I don't really see that happening of an insurgency that we could do with Syria. And again, Syria, we funded ISIS, or Israel did, to overthrow Assad. And because this has been planned since the 90s. It was called the clean break strategy that the Israelis developed in the neocons, that they would get the United States to attack 7 countries for them. So Israel can become a greater Israel and control that whole area. Not that they give a shit about the United States, but they will use us to get their will. And I forget all the 7 countries, but it was like Sudan, there was Libya, there was Iraq, there was Syria, and then the big one was Iran. And now we've attacked all countries. So they're doing what they said they would do. So this has been planned out. So this isn't new, like, oh, we had to attack Iran because they were just going to attack us at any moment. No, this has all been planned. And that's the way it is. All right. I think I got that. So I think good questions, guys. I appreciate that. All right. The Ripper, $5. We trusted Trump. We put out a helping hand. Only in return, we got stabbed in the back. Yeah, Trump betrayed us. And it's that really sucks to be betrayed. And so there's no forgiveness on my part for what Trump has done. Okay. Now, while Trump was giving his speech that he's won the war, right? It was kind of funny because the minute he was doing that, oh, that's not it. I get these tabs open here. Here we go. This happened. These were 2 tankers. A large tanker fire rages in the Persian Gulf following an Iranian attack. And this isn't AI. This comes from Breaking 911. So this is valid. It's pretty spectacular. So the Iranians are attacking tankers, especially ones that try to go through the Strait of Hormuz are being blown up. And they can't get the oil through, which could create huge economic damage to the West and to the United States, higher gas prices. And it is crazy. And also what has happened, the Iranians, did that. Okay. Yeah, that's the oil tanker fires. All right. Let's see here. Couple other things. I'm just going through what's kind of I have so much stuff. I just want to get the main stuff. It's a lot of stuff to go through. A lot of stuff has been happening here. So let me just show you this. This is ABC News. The Pentagon acknowledged Tuesday that the number of U.S. troops wounded in the war with Iran is far higher than initially suggested. Yeah, again, the Trump administration has been lying about a lot of stuff, and I think we're going to see the casualty count is higher, and they're delaying releasing this for political reasons. And the other issue that I talked about here is where Trump wants to end the war, but this is going to cause a lot of problems with Israel. And here we go, right here. Dude, Trump reportedly wants to end the war quickly, but Israel disagrees, and we're Israel's bitch, and is committed to creating conditions for regime change in Iran. This is Netanyahu, so it's not just to bomb them. Is we got to overthrow them. And that's what Israel wants. That was their whole point of the war, was regime change. Because they know if that doesn't happen, we won't have the political will to attack Iran again, and Iran will be able to recover. They will be seen really in the Arab world as heroes, that they stood up to the United States and Israel and won. Kind of a David and Goliath, but the David this time is not Israel, it's Iran, and they defeated the big enemy. They'll have a lot of prestige, and they will be a dominant player in the Middle East to counterbalance Israel. Israel does not want that, so they're going to put a lot of pressure in with their people like Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, to try to make sure that doesn't happen. All right. And also tonight, this is what I was looking for. Besides those tankers that were set on fire, oil storage facilities in Oman are being bombed. And there was a spectacular video of that showing those oil facilities on fire. So they are definitely coming hard on the energy there. Now, I found this interesting and kind of disturbing today. The FBI is warning that Iran could attack California with drones. Mixed feelings about this as California. I'm not a big false flag guy, but this sounds like a false flag they're preparing us for, because I don't know why Iran would want to attack California, but certain people would. I think Israel wouldn't mind if that happened, because this is a way to rally the American people to maybe, let's fight a total war against Iran and get the draft and all that, because they attacked California. They attacked our land. I really don't think Iran's going to do this. I don't even know if they have the capability to do that. That's a long ways off. So when I see this, I'm getting kind of the false flag worry there. So yeah, that is definitely it. All right. Now the sad incident that happened with the school. The New York Times is saying, this is from Bloomberg, that we were at fault at doing this. It was faulty targeting information. And Trump couldn't come clean on this. He lied. He said, no, it was the Iranians. They're inaccurate missile fire. And then he said, oh, well, maybe it was a Tomahawk missile, but other people have Tomahawk missiles. So he was implying that the Iranians got a Tomahawk missile and bombed their own school. And so I don't know how Trump's going to deal with this, but someone should be fired. Pete Hegseth, obviously, the guy's an idiot. I think Trump picked him because he kind of looks the part, kind of like Team America, hoorah! But when he opens his mouth, he's really stupid. And you would think Pete would be worrying right now about what happened with the Iranian school. How did that happen? It's really bad PR for the Arab world, the rest of the world. How did that happen? We're not winning the war. The Gulf of the Strait of Hormuz is closed, and our Navy can't open it. This could create an oil crisis, and it could create a crisis in the United States. So what's Pete worried about, though? Right? Really, what is Pete worried about? Well, what Pete is worried about is how he looks. The Defense Department, it's actually not the Defense Department, it's the Department of War, has barred photojournalists from briefings on the U.S. Israeli conflict with Iran after they published photos of Defense Secretary, again, it's Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, that his staff deemed unflattering. So he's like, he's only going to allow his photographers in because of all the stuff that's going on. Pete is worried about how he looks, even though he comes across like a total retard. That's what he should be worried about. He's coming across like a moron. But no, that's not what he's worried about. He's worried about if he gets a flattering shot of himself. This is it's like a parody. It's satire. It's like a Monty Python skit. The guy's an idiot. He should be removed. But that's what Pete Hegseth is worried about, is how he looks. And I found the tanker fire. This is in oh no, we already got that. That was a repeat. So that was a tanker fire, and there's a fire in Oman right now that is happening. So that is some of the stuff with the war. Let's see here. Like I said before about the Strait of Hormuz, Trump wanted to have the Navy to escort ships through, but the Navy is like, nah. The U.S. Navy is refusing requests from shipping companies for military escorts through the Strait of Hormuz. Despite earlier promises from U.S. officials, the U.S. Navy believes the risk of attacks in the area is too high. Wasn't that the purpose? Isn't the purpose of the Navy to get in high-risk areas and fight? They're like, no, this is a jobs program. We don't want to fight. So literally are like aircraft carriers like 1,000 miles offshore, 1,000 kilometers, offshore from Iran because they're scared of being attacked by drones. And now we can't go through the Strait of Hormuz. It's only 20 miles wide. We may get hit. So the Navy's like, yeah, we're not going to do that. But Trump's telling these tankers, don't be pussies, just go through. And they're being blown up. So, yeah, it's not going well there. And so I'm not really quite sure what the strategy is. But that is it's like a huge problem here. And it's a huge problem with oil because oil products are also used for other things like fertilizer. And let me just show you, this is a potential impact.
Fertilizer, those that need to buy are hurting pretty bad because we've had this huge jump in fertilizer prices because of this conflict. And, with only about 30% of fertilizer coming through the Strait of Hormuz, that's, if you divide that out per day, that's about 0.09% of the world's fertilizer coming through there. And even if the U.S. only uses 30% of that, which I think is probably a really high number, that's 0.03% and per day. So we've only been in conflict for nearly 12 days here, and our fertilizer costs have jumped nearly 77%, and our corn price has only gone up by 5%.
So the problem is farmers use fertilizer as a petroleum product, and it's gone up 70%. So we're eventually going to see higher food prices. So again, as long as the Strait of Hormuz stays closed, the longer it stays closed, the more of a financial crisis it will be. This is the Iranian strategy. And by the way, the Trump administration, they had no idea that this may happen. But this is what they're saying. And this is, it's just pretty crazy. And let's see here. Yeah, right. I was just trying to see some more war videos. So that is it. A couple other things here. This is interesting about the religious aspect. Ted Cruz is starting to melt down. It's pretty funny. He's being trolled. And let's just take a look at him. He's a Christian Zionist and believes in putting Israel first.
I could tweet this morning, "Good morning," and hundreds of anti-Semitic responses would immediately fill my social media.
People are trolling his ass.
Turns out I've seen many times an image of myself in a bikini with the flag of Israel.
Good job, guys. Good job. So he's starting to melt down about that. And it's happening in the real world too now. He had a speech. This is great because he has this heretical view about the Bible, which didn't exist until like 100 years ago. This the Jews are better than Christians and they don't need Jesus.
I will say this, I am saddened to see that some here, not everyone, but some here.
Most of us. So people are tired of this Christian Zionist bullshit, which is a heresy, because Christianity is not anti-Jew. Is everyone needs to come to Christ, and Jews can come to Christ. In fact, Christ is their Messiah. The Apostle Paul was Jewish. Most of the apostles were Jewish. Jesus was Jewish. So it's not anti-Jewish ethnicity, but to be saved, you need to come to Christ. For the dispensationalists, they don't believe that.
Are so consumed with hate.
And if you don't agree with that, you're consumed with hate. This is the terms that they, like ADL teaches them to say.
You cannot address your brother. I will say this.
You speak for yourself.
If you will not stand with Israel and the Jews,
No.
then I will not stand with you. Thank you, and God bless you.
So this is pretty bad. He went to a dinner to speak to some Republican group, and they attacked him and were booing him. And he walked off the stage. So people are tired of this bullshit. And it's, I think there's been a change. There really has. So that is a white pill. All right. Let me just go through here. I just want to go through, make sure I got all the, your questions and everything. A lot of good questions tonight. So thank you guys. You guys are always have good insight. I do appreciate that. And I'm scrolling through. It takes me a little while because I don't have a staff. I'm not like the Quartering that has a huge staff. It's just me. I just want to make sure I got everything here. All right. I think I got everything. And as always, if I miss a super chat or something, just send me an email at RAMZPAUL@gmail.com. And I will get it. I'll probably do one of these streams tomorrow as this war continues. It seems to be, despite what Trump is saying, I don't see that the war has ended. At least the Iranians haven't got the memo. And we haven't. We're continuing to bomb. So who knows what he means by that. But hopefully, I think there might be a resolution where through the Russians that the Iranians agree to, end this, but we'll have to see. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.